Alright, well here's my next project I'm working on. This is a mesquite bottom with a layer of mesquite and then a real thin layer of South American walnut, or Nogale, or Nogal as I've heard it pronounced. And then right now I'm working on a layer of maple. And this maple layer is really going to make the design pop against these darker colors. Now, this is the first time I've tried using some of the Starbond black super glue that's used to fill some little bug holes. So I'm kind of curious to see how that turns out in this process. But I just started turning this layer of maple and I forgot to make a short video, and so I'm going to turn it down and split this ring and then start adding the design elements to it. So I'll see you in the next video. Well, here's the first layer turned. I've sanded this flat so that when I part it off the lathe I can glue it on something else, and which will be this bowl later. I've also came in here and turned the inside a little bit so that I can see how far my tool is when I begin to cut it off. And that's what I left the shoulder for right here, is where I'm going to use the parting tool right against the shoulder and cut this piece off. So that'll be my next step. Okay, so here it is. I've cut this from off the lathe, and I will take this and sand where I cut it off. I always use a saw to finish cutting this off. I've had a few of them come off and break, so always leave a little meat and then cut it off. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish turning the inside, and I'll sand this flat and get ready for the next layer. Thanks for watching. Okay, sorry for the noise. It is super windy out here today. We've got a little cold front coming in. But you can see that I've now trued this layer up. I sanded this flat. I did a little cleanup sanding on the outside, and that let me see that I need to go back and fill a couple of these bug holes with some of that Starbond black that I'm using for the first time. But hopefully that's going to turn out and have a nice look. So getting ready for the next layer. It's still super windy, so I apologize for the noise, but I just got through cutting 12 of these pieces for the next segmented ring, and so I'm fixing to cut some more for another bowl out of maple, and then I'll go upstairs and show you guys how that I glue them up and what works for me. Alright, so the next step is to take these 12 pieces, glue them up along with these design pieces, and make a ring. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble these, glue them up, and then I'll show you what that looks like. And these are the type of clamps I prefer to use. They're just these large hose clamps. They're sometimes hard to get locally, but I found you can get them on eBay. And so I'm going to get to it. I'm going to glue this one up, and then I'm also going to take and glue up this ring right here with some of these pieces that I've already cut. And hopefully when I get finished, I'm going to end up with these two different patterns for the bowl made out of Padauk and the bowl made out of mesquite. So get to it, and I will show you what it looks like after they've been glued up. Okay, so we got both of these glued up. I've got them in the clamps and tightened up, and so hopefully in a few hours I will be set enough where I can take them out of the clamp. And then what I'll do is I'll sand one side flat with the 12-inch disc sander, and then I'll be able to glue it onto the next piece. So I'll check back with you when I get that next step ready. All right, so the pieces had dried enough that I was able to take them out of the clamp and sand them. And so what I did is, you can see this side is nice and flat. The other side is still rough, and that's okay because I'll true it up on the lathe later. But next step is to glue these to these. So that's what I'm going to get working on next. I've successfully glued this mesquite bowl to the next ring. But one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to take some more of this black glue and go ahead and fill these holes in a little bit better, because when I sanded it, you can still see I had some void. So I'm going to go ahead and do that at this point, fill them with glue, and that way I can wait on both these things to dry before I get to turn it again. Well, I'm back at it with the mesquite bowl. It's got a maple layer with some wingy on it, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this down and split the ring, and hopefully do a little touch up where I filled some of these holes with a black super glue, and they didn't quite fill all the way up, so it needed another amount of it, but I'm gonna go ahead and sand that down as well. But I will keep you updated as the project goes along. Hopefully I can get this done tonight as far as splitting this ring, turning it, and cutting some more pieces and getting those glued up so they can dry overnight. I've got this layer just about ready to part off the lathe, or to finish parting it off by using a saw. I've got my groove cut and I've just broke through, and so I'm going to finish that with a saw and then do a little bit of sanding, true this up, and get ready for the next cutting the pieces and getting ready for the next layer. So here we have it after parting off or splitting the last segmented ring that I glued on. I've got it down to the right size that I want it. I've flattened and trued this up, so I'm ready to cut some more pieces to make another ring and glue that on. I'll show that next ring, probably not cutting it, but I'll show it glued up and flattened and then glued onto this. Keep making progress. I didn't quite get as much done as I wanted to last night. I didn't get these sanded and glued on, so that's what I'm going to do this afternoon. Is I sanded one side of these flat, and I'm going to glue them on to their prospective project that I've got going, and then hopefully a little bit later this evening I'll get to do some turning. Making a little bit of progress today as it rained all morning, and yesterday we had a pretty good sized fire nearby, but we've got this one glued up. It's been dry. It's ready to turn. So I'm gonna do the same thing with this layer as I did with the previous. It's going to be a split ring to make this design, and I'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes. Got it turned down and started working on splitting the ring. This is going to be probably one of my favorites. It's got a really nice color contrast between the wingy and the Padauk, and there'll be one more color in here when I get finished, but it's coming along nicely. So I'll split that ring, get it finished parted off, and do some cleanup on the inside and show you what that looks like. Well, got that one parted off, cleaned up. It's looking really good. Again, I really like the color combination. This mesquite, such a beautiful wood, and can't wait to see it finished. I've got the idea in my mind what it's going to look like, and now it's just the hard part of making it so. But got that ring off. We're going to reuse this ring again on this same project. The design will repeat itself eventually, but got to go cut some more pieces and get some more progress done. Just got through cutting all my segmented pieces, usually 12 of them in a ring. Did that for my mesquite bowl, and also did that for my Padauk bowl. And I kind of made a mistake earlier and forgot to cut some of my pieces, and I needed to cut 12 more of these, so I went ahead and did that. But I'm going to go glue these rings up. Hopefully they'll dry and I'll be able to glue them up onto the bowls themselves in a little while, maybe after dinner. Just got through sanding these two rings. See, one side's nice and flat, the other side is not, and that's okay because I'll turn it and flatten it on the lathe. Same thing with this one. One side is not. But getting ready to mark these. I usually make some alignment marks on my bowls. In fact, you can see some of those alignment marks here that I've made previously, but I'll do the same thing as I'll make some marks so that when I glue it up, it will line up. And after I do that, I'll make another video. Got the mesquite bowl glued up, and we'll let it set. But lines up really well. A lot of times I like to take, let's see if I can do this one-handed, is add a weight to it, and that'll help make this glue joint nice and clean, even though it's flat and true. But that's the mesquite one, and make some more progress on it tomorrow. Just mounted this up on the lathe. Gonna turn it down, get ready to split this ring again, and so I'll show that when I get there. Just got through turning down this segmented ring. I've started to split it. It's left a little bit taller than it needs to be so that I can sand it down to the right width. So I'm getting ready to cut this off, and I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll start to clean up the inside some. Making good progress. This one's looking really nice. The pattern is just about to the halfway point, and then we'll reverse it and use these rings that we cut off. But it's looking really nice. I did a little bit of sanding on it because I've got the shape going where I want it, so I can kind of do a little bit of cleaning up and see where I'm at, and it's looking really good. So I've got some more wood turning to do on the other project, the Padauk bowl, and I will try to cut both of these next rings at the same time, glue those up, and keep making some progress. Just got through cutting all my pieces. Again, 12 pieces in a ring plus whatever the design calls for. So I'll go glue those up into rings, and hopefully I can get those sanded and glued onto these a little bit later. Just got through gluing these two up. They just need some time to dry, and then I'll be able to sand them flat and glue them onto the wood turning and make a little bit more progress. But it's looking good. Looking good. Just got these sanded. This is going to be a nice color contrast. This is some Padauk maple, and then I have some spalted oak. It's really going to make that pop once we get it finished. But I'm going to glue these up, and I'll show you what those look like. Really, really liking the colors on this mesquite bowl. It's got great contrast between my dark wood, my Padauk, and I'm hoping this will really pop with the spalted oak. Sometimes I'll go ahead and use a curly maple or something similar to the background, but I think that red will really make that pop. So after this layer, I'm just going to repeat the pattern, which we already have all the cutoffs. There's a pile of some of them mixed with some of the other ones, but they're right there, so it'll go a lot faster. I'll keep you updated as I go along. Getting back to the mesquite bowl this morning, going to turn this layer down. The plan for it is to split the ring, but sometimes on this element I'll leave it 3/4 thick. It looks pleasing as well. So I haven't decided. I usually wait to turn it and then see what it looks like. So here goes. Well, just got through turning this one down. Still left a little proud, but I was thinking about the pattern, and even though I like leaving this middle ring bigger, I think I'm going to go with what I drew up and go ahead and split this ring, just because it gives it a different look. So I'm going to start splitting that, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Well, it's looking good. Got that layer parted off, and there's the layer. I might reuse this for something down the road, but I'm not going to need it anymore on this one. The pattern is simply going to repeat, so the cutoff we use on this one will go right there, and I'm going to go upstairs and glue that up, and so I'll show you what that looks like. I just got through making some layout marks on my bowl so that I can line up this. It makes a little bit more sense when you glue it on, but it keeps everything, all the pattern lined up if I make these marks. So I am getting ready to do that, and I will show you guys what that looks like after it gets glued up. Everything lined up really well. Just got it glued up, added a 25-pound weight to it. Sometimes these thinner layers that have been parted off the lathe can, even though they're sanded flat, they may have some warp in them. So the weight really helps them to stick nice and flat to the bowl. Again, everything lined up really nice, so it's just a matter of waiting, and I'll show you what it looks like when we get ready to turn it. Getting ready to turn this next layer, and since I've already got another layer ready to glue up, it should go pretty quick, but I'll show you what it looks like after this is turned down and sanded to size. So far, so good. Got that layer turned with a little bit of sanding, just cleaning up the shape just a little bit, but still leaving enough room to add the next layer. So I'll go upstairs and glue the next layer on. Next step is to glue this ring onto this bowl, so that's what I'm fixing to do, and I'll show you what that looks like. Just got through gluing it up. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to add some weight to the top of it to help that glue joint dry nice and tight, but I'm pretty happy with it. Got just a few more rings of the design left, and so it's going along pretty good. Just mounted up the mesquite vessel that I'm working on, and we're going to go ahead and turn it down and get ready for the next layer, but I'll show you what it looks like after I've turned this layer. Just got through turning that layer down, and I'll go up and glue the next layer on. So it'll be a repeat of this layer here, and that'll finish that, and I'll add maple, nogale, and some more mesquite, but it's getting a lot closer, and it is looking good. Getting ready to do a few glue ups. I've got my layout marks, and I know it's going to fit, so I'm going to get this glued up and I'll show you what it looks like. Just got it glued up. It's looking pretty good. I had it somehow got a little off-centered in the bowl, but I've got enough material that it'll be okay, but it's looking good. Just got to wait for it to dry. Well, I was so excited to get going on this and get turning again that I kind of stopped halfway after mounting it on the lathe, and I actually started turning before I got this video going. But plan is to simply turn this ring down, clean up the inside, sand it to the thickness and flatten the top, and then glue up the next layer. So I'll show you how that what that looks like. I just got it sanded down as far as getting it flat. I've got the layer to the right thickness that I want, and then it's looking good. So I'll get ready to glue up another layer of this maple that is the leftovers from this half, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. I'm getting ready to glue this ring of maple onto this bowl here, and there's just barely enough, so that's going to be good. I'll show you what it looks like after it's glued up. We just got it glued up. It's looking really well. We'll wait for this to dry, and then we'll add another layer. We'll turn it, but then we'll add another layer of the South American walnut. So making progress. It's later in the day, and I was able to get this one where the glue had dried enough and get it mounted up on the lathe. So all we're going to do is follow the contour of the shape that we've created, and clean up the inside, and then get it to be the same thickness as this previous ring. So I'll show you what that looks like. Just got through turning that layer down. It's looking really good. Got it the same thickness as this other one. Got it sanded flat. Still left the inside. It needs some cleanup, which I'll do, but I usually wait a little bit longer. So I'll go glue up the next layer. I'm getting ready to glue another layer to the bowl, using again the South American walnut, and that will complete the center band or the design element. And then I'll go back to some mesquite, but I'll show you what this looks like after I get it glued up. Just got through gluing this one up. It's looking nice. I'll add a weight to it for some pressure, but that should be it. It's waiting for it to dry enough that I can go turn it. I'm getting ready to turn this layer down. It's been glued up for overnight, so turn it down, and then I'll cut some more mesquite, make another layer. I'll show you what that looks like. It didn't take long. Got this layer turned down. Did a little light sanding. I will wait to sand the inside of this once I refine this next layer shape, so the sandpaper doesn't distort or dig in where I don't want it to, but it's looking really nice. I just got all my 12 pieces of mesquite cut. I had to use a couple different rips, which sometimes causes the grain to change, but the grain on this mesquite is so kind of wavy and wild, I think it won't matter. But I'll go glue that into a ring, and I'll show you what it looks like glued up onto a bowl. Well, just got that mesquite ring glued up, and I'll let it dry, and then hopefully I can sand the bottom flat and get it glued on a little bit later this evening. Just getting ready to glue this ring of mesquite up on here, so as soon as I'm done, I'll show you what that looks like. Just got it glued up, and now it's a waiting game. I'll hopefully be able to turn it this evening, but we'll see how the glue dries. The mesquite is dried enough that I can go ahead and turn it, so I'm going to turn this layer down, follow this, get it as round as I can so that it has a nice form, but I'll show you what that looks like when I get it done. Well, that took a little bit of time to clean up. Mesquite's pretty hard, so I had to sharpen the tools a couple times, but other than that, it turned really well. I kind of had said earlier that some of the grain may change a little bit because I had to use two different pieces of wood from the same tree. So you can see the grain changes a little bit, but it'll be fine because of the way the mesquite looks. So I'll cut another layer of mesquite and get that glued up. Just got this small ring sanded, and I am fixing to glue it up. I'll have to make some alignment marks, but I'll show you what it looks like after it's glued up. Well, didn't take long. It's all glued up, and just gotta wait on it. Hopefully tomorrow I can get another couple layers on it, and it'll be closer to being finished. Getting ready to turn some more in this mesquite vase, or vessel. Gonna try and keep this curve going up, and then I'll make a little shoulder or neck with a nice little darker rim on there. May add a design, I'm not sure yet, but we'll turn it and see what kind of shape we get out of it. Well, I'm back. I had a minor setback. I had my bowl turned, and I ended up having a separation in my glue joint, so I ended up having to part this off the lathe and get to start over with another ring. So I've got to go cut some more pieces and get that glued up and do this step over. So after having to glue up a new ring, I'm finally getting to glue it on, and as you can see, it's dark outside, but I'll be able to turn this tomorrow. I've got a show coming up, so hopefully I can get this done before that show next week. Got it glued up, got some weight on it, so yeah, like I said, tomorrow. So this looks like deja vu, but just got to do it again. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this layer down, refine the shape, and hopefully make something nice out of it. Got that turned down. The glue joint much better than the last one. Got a few knots that I'm going to fill in with some black, maybe a bug hole or two, but it's coming out well. The shape is pleasing, happy with it. So I at one point was going to do a complicated neck, but I think I really want the focus to be on the center band, so I'm just going to add a layer of South American walnut to the top and finish it off, and that'll look nice. So I'm getting ready to glue another ring of South American walnut to this top, or that will be my top layer, and I'm going to go ahead and add some more product to fill in some of these bug and knot holes, but I'll show you what that looks like after I get it glued up. Got it glued up and got some of that black on there, so hopefully that will cure. Sprayed it with some Instaset or glue activator, but we'll wait for this to dry and then hopefully sand it down and start putting some clear on it. I got this one mounted up and I'm getting ready to turn this ring, so, and sand down the black glue that I used to fill these voids and knot holes, but I'll show you what it looks like after I get done. I didn't get a chance to finish sanding this out yesterday, and so while I brought it back inside upstairs, I went ahead and filled again where it needed another filling of this black super glue, and the same thing on the inside, just because it bothered me. And so what I'm going to do is sand it down again and hopefully get through my progression of 120, 150, 220, 320, and then 4 and 6. But I will spend some time sanding, and I'll hopefully show you what it looks like and then get a coat of sealer on it. Well, here it is. It's all sanded and ready to go. Went up to 600 grit on it, and it's looking pretty nice. So getting ready to apply some sealer to it, and I will show you what it looks like after that's done. Just got through applying a coat of sealer to it, and let me tell you that grain on the Mesquite does not disappoint. So once I get a clear coat on top of the sealer, it's really going to shine up. But man, Mesquite is such a beautiful, beautiful wood. Just got through adding a coat of the UV Marine High Gloss finish that I'm using, and it's looking good. So turn the light on. Yeah. So we'll let this dry. You can see how reflective it is, and see if it needs another coat or if I need to add something else to it. But so far so good. We just got put through putting another coat of clear on this. It's looking really nice and shiny. We'll wait till it dries and see if I want to add a third one to it, but it's looking good. Well, here it is. It's been had a good day to dry from the last coat. It's also been kind of windy here, which had to sand down a coat that had some problems with little bitty tiny bumps from either dust or something that blew in. But I'm getting ready to use the parting tool. I'll part this as much as I can, and then I'll cut it off and I'll show you what that looks like. Well, I just got through cutting it off the lathe. This is what the block that I use looks like after it's been parted. I still need to flatten it, clean it up, and I just took this over to the disc sander and sanded the bottom. I will take this and sand it down to 220, and I will put my name and the amount of pieces and the types of wood on it, and then I'll seal that. But I'll take some pictures of it and show you guys later. This is one of my favorite pieces that I've made as far as the look, color combination, the design. Really happy with it. Top rim is made out of South American walnut. We have mesquite, more South American walnut, maple, padauk. This is some spalted oak. And then we have some wingy right here. Really like this piece. But I don't know if you can read my handwriting, but it has 271 pieces of wood. And it's number 34 that I've made since 2021. But getting ready to enter this into a show. Hopefully it'll get accepted, and hopefully it'll find a home, because it's a really nice piece. Thanks for watching.